Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Insight. I'm your host, Justin Cobb, and today I am joined by this wonderful human being. She is based out in Chicago. She is a cybersecurity professional. She's got all the hacks. She's got the skills, not only for these computers, but also some great knowledgeable life know-how that is going to serve a whole lot of folks. I can't wait for you all to meet her. This is Lorena. Lorena, thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having me, Justin. I'm so excited to be here with you and your audience. You have told some really great stories, and I'm just honored to be able to share mine in hopes to be able to inspire and empower others in their journey in life.
Absolutely. It's all about that empowerment because let's be honest, Lorena, you know this, I know this. There's plenty of things out there. If we allow them to, it can pull us back into a position where we don't feel that sense of encouragement, that sense of agency. And it really is about overcoming those obstacles. There, Lorena, before we get into those, I'm curious, and I'm sure audiences are as well. Can you give us a little bit more about what it is that you currently do?
Absolutely. So a little bit about myself. A little bit of personal and professional. So I'm a proud first generation Mexican American Latina with African, Jewish, Spanish, and Portuguese roots, and a proud member of the vibrant LGBTQIA community. I identify as pansexual, and my pronouns are she, her, and ella. I am an established DEI leader, an advocate, coach, and mentor, but most of all, a technology subject matter expert in cybersecurity, governance, compliance, risk, and information security.
So much. I love it. Didn't I tell you folks, she's got the life hacks, she's got the computer hacks, and government on top of that. Watch out. It's almost like if you had to build a superhero kind of thing. I can imagine yours being like this cool little hero. Oh my gosh, it'd be so cool.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, thank you. And it's and it comes through a lot of life experiences, lived experiences, but a lot of great people along the way to help me through my journey.
Speaking of life experiences, let's go ahead and dive right into those. You willing to time travel with me?
Absolutely. Let's go back and then let's bring it back to the present.
Sounds good. Let's take it back to when Lorena was growing up as a kid. What were the things that you were witnessing and encountering?
So thank you for asking that. So me being a daughter of immigrants, being a first gen individual, my parents migrated to the US, for the all American dream. And so we had very humble beginnings. Talk about language barriers, limited financial resources, living in the poverty. My parents, did their best, in trying to provide and support for me and my five sisters. They worked, warehouse jobs, factory jobs, hospitality jobs. They did their best with what they could with the limited resources and having virtually no one here in the States. So with that, we faced a lot of overwhelming odds, so that trickled down into our youth. Again, poverty, unfortunately, my dad, fell into some very, some pitfalls of alcoholism and substance abuse, something that he's overcome. But it is cyclical, but as a result, it did touch, our home life, there came a cycle of trauma, cultural stigmas. And my journey was not easy. Neither was my sister's, but this is my story. I grew up in a broken system where equality and mental health really was not really available for everyone, and it was stigmatized. It was a cultural stigma as well. As a youth, I felt very lost and unsupported. Not knowing really where I fit in, whether I was an American, Mexican American, do I embrace my ancestral roots? How do I dig in deep? I and my parents really doing their best, focusing on work, providing for our home life, really left us with little guidance on how to navigate education systems, how to get that support in homework. We really had to fend for ourselves. It was really difficult for me, let's just say. And as a result, I encountered some very troubling youth situations. I fell into some very bad crowds. I felt that was my only way out, to get some sense of unfortunately, I thought it was of very misguided, of people who you thought were looking out for you, when in that actually were more like predators and individuals looking to take advantage of a situation. Yeah, so a pivotal moment really forced me to make a drastic change in my life. In my teens, it really was rough, and there was a fork in the road. Unfortunately, a near-death experience that really opened my eyes and put me in a position where, do I want to break free from these toxic cycles where I could risk losing everything and everyone, including myself? Or do I embrace accountability and commit to personal growth? But that wasn't going to be easy. Transforming my life around really was difficult. I encountered a lot of traumatic situations, multiple traumatic situations, but I survived. But not only did I survive, but I thrived. And now I have a purpose, and that purpose is continuous growth and to share my story, to stand where very few would have imagined me. And really, that's to help others avoid the pitfalls that I fell into, but also to let them know that they're worthy, that you are seen, that you are worthy, and that you are loved, and that it all begins within ourselves.
Amen. And that's so true. And I'm curious, Lorena, and I'm sure audiences are as well. How old were you when you had this turnaround?
Really, I was a lost little girl from 13 to 18.
Mhm.
There was a
So,
lot, there was a lot that happened in those 5 to 6 years. And, one of them, unfortunately, where I I felt that I had no worth and value. I felt that there was no one there for me. I was a runaway. I wanted to break free from the trauma, from the cycles. Um, Unfortunately, falling into more pitfalls.
mm,
And I felt that I had nowhere to go. And I I had an attempt. And it was when I was coming back from being a Jane Doe from maybe a week plus, right? Because that time was lost. I don't remember much, but I remember waking up and I remember realizing that I'm here and there's a purpose.
mhm. Yes,
And there's
all people are here for a purpose and a reason, and you have gifts and skills that you can contribute to not only serve others, but to mm, answer a higher calling. And you can say that it was God who gave it to you. It can be whatever or nothing, but you still
Rebirth,
have
you could be within yourself.
yes.
Absolutely, yes.
But being so rooted in that purpose is so key. I'm curious, Lorena, because you mentioned before, because in this story you've told, you had the initial pitfall that brought you to this point of reckoning, and now you're trying to get out of this. And you mentioned that in itself was also difficult. What was
Yes.
that process of getting out of this?
It's seeking a support system, mental health, finding someone who was going to listen to me and help me understand that what I experienced wasn't my fault, to let go of the shame that I harbored for so long. From physical abuse, whether it's SA, DV, whatever it is that you maybe experience as an individual, maybe not having acceptance, whatever, there's so many things individuals face, but just learning that we can let go of the shame and that there is grace and it starts within ourselves. And so finding someone to share with me grounding techniques, journaling, group community, mentorships, bringing me up and showing me that there is a way and there is more to life than what I was exposed to. It really opened my eyes and thinking, oh my gosh, here I am living in poverty, but there is more. My parents did their best, God bless their hearts, but they did their best with what they could. And I love them. I give them grace. There is forgiveness. And there is growth, because there is beauty in that forgiveness, because it will set you free.
Mm-hmm.
So learning that grace, that forgiveness was going to be key. Learning that there was going to be growth was going to be key. So I needed to turn this narrative around. What was it going to take? Education. It was going to take mentorships, sponsorships, and aligning myself with individuals that I wanted to mirror, that I wanted to like grasp some of those wonderful qualities that maybe I hadn't been exposed to before, right? Like, and so I'm proud to stand where, if you would have imagined, I transitioned from cleaning floors as a maid to pitching multi-million-dollar initiatives to C-suite executives and board of directors. My career now spans to Fortune 20 companies, including a pivotal role as a process engineer advisor to a Fortune 20 organization for the Global Chief Information Office in cybersecurity and information security. I'm dedicated to leading optimization for cybersecurity programs and ensuring that we have products that are secured by design, that are responsible AI with integrity. And I help support our organization's security across 10 subsidiaries. And not only do I do this at our organization from a technology space, but I am a leader for diversity, equality, inclusivity, accessibility, and belonging, because I know how important it is to have representation, to have someone who looks like you, who comes from maybe your world or something similar to, or maybe not even has to be from your world. Welcome the other parts of our culture, different cultures, heritages, lifestyles, just different individuals, different mindsets. Diversity is beautiful. So I am a big advocate of that in the technology space, in the education space, healthcare space, in all spaces, in the community, because we are all worthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, turning my life experiences around and to be able to change shame into a story of thriving, and you don't have to be a product of your environment. You could use that, as you mentioned earlier, as your superpower to help others in their journey, to avoid some of those pitfalls, to be that helping hand, and to maybe help save a life, to help say, hey, there is more for you. I know you don't see it now, but there is more for you. Let me show you, or let me tell you how, and it's possible, and it's not going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can make it, and I have a list of trauma. I mean, you name a trauma, throw it out, and I probably survived it. But it won't be easy, but it will be possible.
And it'll be worth it too. Yes. And Lorena, it's what you're speaking to is universal in a lot of ways, and it's so fascinating how it derived from a unique experience growing up as a first generation Latina, growing up in with the poverty, always on the cusp or enduring it, growing up with like, like in some of the less than safe neighborhoods, and
Yes.
being a woman and being a member of the alphabet soup or the LGBTQ community. I'd love to call us the soup sometimes because we are wholesome when we're all together, and all of that. But here you are, you're tapping into that human at the core of it. And a lot, it's really profound because here you are, you've been through all these things, and it just goes to show that your worth is not just in your title, your label, or your category. It's in who you are as a person and what you choose to do with all of these circumstances that
Absolutely.
you've been dealt with. And I tell folks all the time that the trials and the tribulations, along with all those categories and labels, those will only define you if you allow them. And what you decide to do with your like with these trials, with these hurdles, those are
Yeah.
the things that speak to who you are as a person and more than anything else.
Yes.
It's so it's so beautiful, and I'm inspired. And you mentioned all these beautiful things, and in my head, I was literally thinking, we can literally just sum this up as Lorena is a bad. So look at her go.
Get out. Get out. Thank you so much for saying that. But again, it's just I wish there was a Lorena out there, or maybe there was a combination of Lorenas out there for me. But it's just whatever I can do to help others, I want to be that champion of justice, to break those barriers, shatter those stereotypes, be that role model for others who face those similar challenges. Diversity is a strength,
Mhm.
and it is going to ensure that progress happens in technology, in healthcare, in education, but it takes a multitude of voices, a multitude of ideas, a multitude of individuals with different backgrounds to come together as a collective to make a better place for everyone, to be that change, right? And so I'm just here to say, to help others ensure that that can happen by using their platform to be that change, because everybody has that ability, has that capability to come together. I like to say, use this, I don't know, I don't want to age myself, but back in the 80s there was this cartoon called the Care Bears, right? And every Care Bear was unique, right? They each had their superpower, but when they came together, right, and they all lined up, right, to fight against the evil, right, they each brought their uniqueness, their individuality, and as a collective, we were better together, right? They conquered and they defeated all darkness, all evil. And imagine if we could do that as individuals and humans.
I
Yeah.
love that. So true. And Lorena, that actually segues into some of these other questions that I definitely had for you, because we talk about challenges in our careers and breaking stereotypes and defying odds and molds. I'm curious because these challenges that you endured as a kid, and I tell people all the time that resilience that you go through as a kid, it really does prepare you for what's about to come.
Yes.
And later in life. But for you, what were some of the challenges or experiences you were having when you first started your career? Because you're in cybersecurity, and we all know the reputations behind cybersecurity. It's very like it's very male oriented. It's got a lot of like whiteness involved in this, and all like so many other things. Let's unpack this, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for bringing that up, and that's a really good question. So you're right. Women in cybersecurity there needs to be more, right? Well, let's unpack it. So the statistics as of, I believe, 2022, for Latinos and Latinas in cybersecurity, the representation is 5%. For African American and Black individuals in cybersecurity, it is 9%. If you break that down to gender for each category, the numbers are even lower. So being a person of color, being a woman, I was facing a uphill battle, right? So those challenges were very much present. I was an individual who was already in IT as a project manager, portfolio manager, working on strategies, on 3-year roadmaps. But for me to pivot into cybersecurity, I needed to come into it with a brand new skill set. Bringing in those transferable skills that I had from IT, I needed to ensure that if I was going to enter this playground, I needed to attain many of the certificates that some of my peers or my colleagues were going to have, to ensure that when I offered an idea or a solution, that it was going to be taken as, okay, this individual is well-versed, is a subject matter expert, and I'm going to go ahead and take their solution and their idea because I have faith that what they bring to the table is great value add. Again, walking into a male-dominated field and mostly Caucasian and white males, I was walking into a space where I needed to ensure that not only did I have technical skills, but I had the certifications behind me, the terminology behind me, but also the community. So with that community mindset, I joined many groups such as Women in Cybersecurity, Women in Tech. I joined a great organization called ASE. Through ASE, I was able to join they had a cohort, a elevating leadership cohort that focused on helping Hispanics or multicultural individuals break into cybersecurity. It was a 14-week plus program that they partnered with Trellix, a cybersecurity, information security organization. And through that, I learned technical skills, I learned leadership skills, and I was able to learn the confidence through the mentorships and through the one-on-one coaching, and just being able to meet other individuals that looked like me, that really represented, right, who I was and who we were trying to come out as. And that was as cybersecurity professionals and those information security experts that we knew that we were and that we're growing into, but we needed the others to see us in that space. So communities, partnerships with organizations, mentorships, and getting those certificates and not being shy about my ideas when I was at the table was very key. And when my idea was turned away, I came back, repositioned that idea with the value adds of what's in it for them to ensure that my statement or my idea came with benefits that they were going to say, you know what, why not? Why not do this? This is a great idea. Let's go ahead and pursue this. And as a result, I was able to stand up a really great a program at my recent organization that spanned across 10 subsidiaries to help with information incident response. And I was able to successfully do that through a lot of these mentorships and cohorts and communities of practice.
I love that. And folks, And Lorena, correct me if I'm wrong, but I loved how you mentioned that cohort was called ASE. And for those of you folks out there who don't speak Spanish, ASE means to make or to do. So literally, you have this little organization out there saying, we are going to be the thing that does, we are going to be the thing that makes. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I love it. And it's so beautiful because you literally got these skills that taught you the essentials of navigating corporate America. And it's phenomenal because navigating corporate America, if you don't have that know-how, is so difficult. It's wild because you could have a really good idea and it could actually work, and on top of that, it would probably bring some benefits. But then if you don't know how to navigate corporates,
Mhm.
you will go through the ringer. And in some cases, like the worst scenarios, you might be spat out of corporates. That, like, so the fact that you learned all of this is so beautiful. And you were doing this while also navigating your own career, building yourself, and all of this. I'm curious, how did these how did these skills like really help you in terms of overcoming those obstacles in your career? Like, can you give us examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so again, mentorships is going to be key, right? Aligning myself with individuals that were going. So there's three type of individuals you need to look for in your career journey. There's going to be your mentor, someone that's going to help you along grow soft skills or technical skills. There's going to be a sponsor, someone who's going to say your name because they know of your skill set, they know of your expertise. And when they hear of an opportunity, they're like, hey, oh, you want somebody to do that story, that piece about that human article or that biography? Justin Cobb is the person for you. Let me tell you why. Dot, dot, dot. That is what a sponsor would do, is speak your name when there's opportunities that rise. And then you want to definitely, I would definitely recommend a career coach, right? That individual is going to help you stay accountable. And so that career coach could come in in a different ways. You know, it could be a group career coaching, individual career coaching, but definitely pair up with someone that's going to help you stay accountable and do check-ins with you and say, hey, how are you doing? I know that 3 months ago you told me you were going to be starting your podcast. We're here. How's it going? When am I going to see it go live this month? Someone that's going to help you move, you know, just champion, cheer for you, but also hold you accountable along the way. Um, so I would say, and community, right? Establishing community or finding your community, right? I'm a very independent and private individual, but there is power in numbers. So find your group, find your people, find your tribe, find your cohort. And if there's not one, create one.
Mm.
Um, and then education is key. Now, I talked about being a runaway. I talked about, navigating through, a lot of pitfalls and a lot of trauma as I was young. So, you know, I didn't have your traditional uh, high school to career to college background. So knowing that not everybody's career ladder or educational background is going to be the same is key. We don't need to compare ourselves, right, to person A, B, or C because they went to high school, they went to college, they went and got a master's, a bachelor's, or whatever that order was, right? You are worthy just the way you are, right? But continuous growth is key. So how I established that was making sure that I attained industry certificates, getting my project management industry certificate, Six Sigma certificate, Toastmasters to help me be a public speaker, Google certificates, IBM certificates to help me brush up on my IBM skill. My technical skills. And then for my leadership skills, getting, Harvard Managed Mentorship skills. There's so many Coursera. There's so many courses out there, where that you could take them at your own pace. Community colleges, also, a lot of them are self-paced. A lot of them you could do, with groups online. There's a hybrid of courses. There is a hybrid of learning for everyone. I was able to attain certifications through University of Pennsylvania and Rutgers University in healthcare. Again, a bachelor's degree wasn't in my reach, but I knew that continuous growth and that industry certifications was going to be key. And you don't want to stay stale. You may have achieved that degree 4, 8, 10, 12 years ago, but the industry that you're in, the landscape will always change. So making sure that you are competitive and continuous learning and integrating AI, because that is going to be key, right? Don't get left behind. Whatever industry you're in, make sure that you gain some AI skill sets so that you could go ahead and be a voice of that change when AI is being integrated in your organization, so that there is a human-centric approach, that you don't get left behind, that AI doesn't take your role, it's empowering your role, that you are integrating it with what you do without losing what you do, right?
Amen. And that's another thing too. I tell people all the time, and it goes beyond AI too, because the only consistent thing in life is change. Things are always changing. Life and death are the same. One goes, another comes in. And it's about keeping yourself current, keeping yourself up to date. But it's also about taking ownership of your destiny. And the way that you do that is through learning, through growth, and being willing to try new things and explore, and learning when things don't go the way you thought that they would. It's so
Yeah.
pinnacle.
Yes.
There, Lorena, there's also something about this as well, because I love, for instance, and this was one of the things that definitely brought me to your profile, and one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you, because you have an affinity for butterflies, but
Yeah.
it goes beyond butterflies. There's something more here that I'm hoping that we can unpack, because like, how do I want to segue this? I'm just so excited about it, because you literally take this butterfly and you make it into, from this tiny insect, into some metaphorical like thing. Like, let's unpack it, shall we? What is the significance of the butterfly?
Oh, the significance of the butterfly. So there's a couple of reasons why the butterfly, right? So one of the primary reasons is the butterfly. So the monarch butterfly, let's take for example, the monarch butterfly is they come from Michoacan, Mexico. That is from the state from where my parents are from. Often when the monarchs are migrating, they are migrating from Michoacan, Mexico, and making a migration travel all the way to Canada. And it's one generation that leaves, finds home. They stop along the way, right? Think about the thousands of miles that little butterfly has to travel to get all the way to Canada, right? And why Canada? Because they're starting a new generation over there, right? But if you think about that travel, right, it's a long travel. And along that travel, there's going to be storms. And butterflies have to take shelter in the storms to protect their wings. And if you think about individuals, when we are going through a season of storms in our personal life, sometimes we have to take a step back to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to that butterfly, right? And that's not always easy, but it's necessary so that we could continue our flight ahead, so that we could move forward. But you're not traveling alone in this journey. Sometimes you are, but think about all the other butterflies that are flying with you, that collective, that growth, that beautiful unity, right? And all of them traveling, stopping by from state to state, and we are all marveling at the beauty of these butterflies. Doesn't matter if you are, white, Black, Latino, Asian. We are all marveling at these wonderful, beautiful butterflies, right? Thinking, wow, this is so awesome. They get to Canada, and then a new generation begins. And then the new generation now starts over, and it's cyclical. And they make their way back to Mexico, and it's just cyclical, and they do this back and forth. But at no time is anybody upset or angry at these butterflies for making their way from one way to one country to another country to another, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are all welcoming these butterflies. We are all loving these butterflies. We're all rooting them on. We're all gathering to welcome them. And imagine that if we could do that as individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if we could welcome all the butterflies from all over the world as people. Doesn't matter if you're Mexico, from, Poland, whether you're from whatever country, right? Think about if we could just welcome each other and just accept one another and accept the beauty that each individual has, what a wonderful world this would be.
Yes, and I love how it's really is rooting itself in small things. These little butterflies are going out there and they leave and they make a whole new generation, and their generation comes back to Mexico, they go out to Canada, they come back, and they go through all the storms, all those long miles, but they still live and they thrive anyway, and then they come back. It's so beautiful. Like we could probably learn a lot from butterflies, especially in the power of small things. And I tell people that when you show up for the small things, the big things come together. So sometimes it feels like you're caught in a drudge, and it's the typical grind. But then you gotta think big picture. You know what? Today is one of the little days. Just got to show up and I got to show out for today. And
Yes.
then my moment will come. And when my moment comes, at least I will be here and ready and present for it when it does.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad that you say that, because I also use the butterfly metaphor for mental health. I'm a big, advocate of mental health, getting support. I think it's very important. There's so many stigmas, right, around mental health, and we need to break those stigmas. And when I think about butterflies, it's about transformation, right? It's about change, and that transformation could be internal. It could be emotional. It could be mental. It could be, sometimes it is also physical, right? And so when we think about being that butterfly, it's really about, just like you mentioned, just showing up and knowing that there is that change. That butterfly went from a cocoon to this beautiful butterfly. So there is change. That change is there. It's transformative. It is cyclical. It is not, it is it won't be always linear, right? But as long as you embrace the change and just know that there is support and lean in on the power of that and know that you're not alone. And when we as individuals can also help and recognize when others need that support, help them, give a little bit of, help them, feel valued, creating a safe space is key, not only for ourselves, but for others, to thrive. And I think that that's really going to be important as we step into 2025.
You know, it's beautiful too because you talk about therapy and how that helped you immensely. But I'm curious also, is what else what more would you say keeps you going in the hardest times, especially since we got some very challenging times ahead of us, and I feel like we're all gonna have to lean into it. So, what's yours?
Okay, so where's my safe space? It would be in journaling. It would be also in writing. And what I mean is writing, I love to write like poems or like spoken word. And I've been stepping out to perform at open mic. And really, that is where, putting that pen to paper, putting my emotions and just throwing them there. And let me tell you, it has been getting more fun lately because I've discovered that AI will take my words and throw it into this and throw beats behind it, throw some music behind it. And what? Now I got my words with music behind it. And now, oh my goodness, watch out. You might see a new Mariposa coming out with a LP next year, right? So I'm really excited about that. So writing for me is key. Helping put what I feel into words, right? And then movement. And when I mean movement, I am talking about putting on music and just letting your body move. You know when they say a dance like nobody's watching? Well, if people saw me dance, they're not going to want to watch. Okay, it is a mess, but it is a beautiful mess, and it is wonderful. It is so. I mean, the feelings that you could get from just body movement, somatic movement. So finding creative ways to do that. I've been finding ways like in acrylic painting. I've been stepping into the world of Legos because, I just discovered Lego Masters and I'm like, what? This is like a 3D puzzle. So I am now fascinated into these, but really it's finding a creative outlet to share a little bit about to find a healthy outlet. So yeah, that's where I'm at is, and I am starting a podcast, and I think that's going to be also a great outlet for me. Is in 2025, I'm kicking off my podcast and talking to others about some really great topics, and hopefully we'll have you on as a speaker too, and as a guest, absolutely.
I would
And
love that.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And and it's really just about empowerment, about helping others be their best at their best, and unity.
I love that. So you touched on the podcast, and I'm curious because you mentioned this podcast. It's one of your new projects, and you're talking about some contemporary topics. What are some of these topics? Can you go into more detail about this? What is it that this podcast is looking to achieve and aspire to do?
Oh, what am I looking to do? So what I'm looking to do is really to help other individuals who are facing those similar challenges, such as I did, to really understand that there is more out there and help them help collectively shatter stereotypes. So really, I am going to be championing diversity, inclusivity, and equality, safe spaces, the importance of safe spaces, really creating a space where folks could talk about, small businesses, to talk about, how they navigate in the professional settings as a, you know, person of color, breaking down silos, encouraging innovation, as your authentic self, bringing your authentic self to every space, to the workspace, to education, how to advocate for yourself in the healthcare setting, as a person of color, and as as an individual, as LGBTQIA, and as a woman, as we're stepping into 2025. Healthcare advocacy is going to be key. Talking to other individuals about how could we empower one another in the technology, in the cybersecurity space, to break into it. AI is going to be key. How do we build AI? How do we build AI products across all industries with equality, inclusivity at the forefront, so that we're not continuing to bring antiquated systems and stereotypes into the new age, right? We need to stop that from happening, right? So making sure that everybody has a voice in at the table when these new tools and technologies are being built. We're going to talk about cultural topics such as, machismo, how to break those barriers. We're going to talk about mental health. I'm going to be bringing in healthcare professionals. I'm going to bring in behavioral health professionals. We're going to bring in individuals who are great storytellers. It's really going to be just a podcast about all things, the 7 pillars of life, really about, workplace, education, finance, healthcare, community spaces, how to be your best self.
I love that. So you are literally helping people unpack how to make life happen.
Yes. And I don't know it all, but that's why I have a great group, a great network of individuals who have certifications, who have these degrees, who have these teachings, who have these platforms, that is what they do. And I'm looking to connect with some awesome individuals so we could bring and talk about those topics and be a great collective and empower one another, 360, full circle.
I love it. It's so needed. And we are going to be approaching time soon, but I'm hoping and that we can flesh out this question before we go, Lorena, if we can. You talked about the trials and how you overcame them, and you also spoke about like you spoke about so many beautiful things. But I'm curious, what were the lessons you learned from all of these experiences?
The lessons that I learned from all these experiences: to let go of shame from my past, to let go of feeling unloved, to let go of feeling alone, and to remember that what is coming is better than what is gone. And that
Amen. Amen. You are taking all those valuable lessons, and it means the world to, because it came from somebody who's been through the ringer, who came out of this and now has this knowledge and this experience to pass on to others. And it's so key. Lorena, I'm curious because there is all of those lessons that you learned, and it's just like it's just so like how does a person go through all this and take all this away from all these experiences? Because one can go through all these hurdles, and this is how, because you literally went through these and you came out with these lessons. Other people can go through them and they may not get any lessons from them, and they just let the situation rule them and take them through the rainer and everything. But you came out of this with it. Like, how? I'm curious. Like, I want to know.
I will tell you, I'll sum it up in less than 2 minutes. This is something that I wrote. And I think that'll help with that answer that question. It's called Who Am I and Who I Am by Mariposa, the butterfly.
I love it.
Okay, here it goes. Beneath the celestial night, my ancestors' spirits soar high. Yet gazing up, I'm left to wonder how I came to be and why. Amidst ancestral lands with roots spread vast and wide, my spirit yearns for clarity, for the answer to who am I. Indigenous Mexican, Spanish, Portuguese, Jewish, and African blend. Generations of lineages and cultures, their resilience still transcends. Holding fragments of my identity, embarking on a journey without end, I'm craving authenticity to better understand who I truly am. My ancestors whispered to me, do you really want to know? Seek to learn and listen. Immerse yourself to grow. I am like a phoenix rising, soaring higher than the sun. Shedding the imposter syndrome, its penance weighed a ton. Illuminating new confidence, self-acceptance has begun. There is beauty in diversity and acceptance for everyone. Caramel brown skin glowing, indigenous chestnut hair flowing, a symbolic hair inheritance my crown, generationally passed down. It is with reverence and gratitude for my ancestors, their rich heritage forever woven deeply within, dedicating every breath with high honor, all of who I am in celebration of who we've been.
I love that. Poetry snaps. Yes, let's go. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that, Lorena. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh. And I loved here we go. There's the butterfly again, folks. If you don't see the theme, let me like point it out like right there. The butterfly. Small things, they add up. And we are capable of celebrating those small things that get us to where we need to go. And
Yes.
Lorena, thank you for coming on to the show today and showing the world how you got not only to where you are, but the journey that brought you to that point. It's inspirational. And I feel like if we all took a page from this and maybe applied a little bit with what resonates in our own lives, I feel like we could see some significant growth from all of this. So thank you for coming on to Insight today. When you are collaborating with folks or people want to reach out to you, what is the best way to do that?
Okay, well, they could reach out to me via my LinkedIn. I do have a Calendly there, and be on the lookout for Unleashing the Lion in Us. It is going to be a podcast that I will be hosting. It will be on all streaming platforms, but in the meantime, be on the lookout for my LinkedIn, where you will be catching once a month streams where I will be talking about some really hot topics, some hopefully that you will be finding some really good nuggets of wisdom. And whatever you're looking to hear, send me a note and I'll be open to explore.
Folks, there you have it. Reach out to Lorena. She's amazing. And thank you again for coming on to the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Wow, that was an awesome episode.
Folks, this has been Lorena's perspective. Be sure to stay tuned for The Lion in Us. Get in touch with Lorena, work with her, collaborate with her. She's awesome.
Thank you, audiences, for tuning in to Insight. Be sure to comment and let us know what you think. Give this video a like and share with your friends, your networks, your peers, your family members, whoever. Go ahead and do that. To check us out on our various platforms, including Medium and Spotify. You will find exclusive content there that you won't find anywhere else. stay tuned for more insights. We got more coming. Until then, be well.